What's going on, Falcon fans? It's your boy Ricondo coming back at you with another video. So today we're going to talk about the 2025 free agents throughout the NFL. Particularly, we're going to talk about the top 100. We'll get into that just a few minutes. But then we're going to look at first. I want to look at the Falcons' biggest needs for this offseason and get your thoughts on that. So, guys, with that being said, if you have not already, go ahead and please subscribe to the channel. Please hit the notification bell so you know I drop another video. Please hit the like buttons. I know you guys out here to talk about. Then please share my video throughout the YouTube universe so more people can come in and hear me talk about. That's right, these Atlanta Falcons. So, guys, the coaching staff have been decided on. We know who our defense coordinator is. Other coordinators, no changes there. We did get a new defensive line coach as well after the departure of Jay Rogers, and we brought in a passing game coordinator in Rutenberg. So the coaching staff is set. Now it's time to focus on the off season. Back in the day, the off season I don't think was covered as it is now, right? The Super Bowl is probably like 11 days. Right after that, you go into the draft season and things like that. So we definitely gonna talk about draft. Right now the Shrine Bowl is going on, the East West Shrine game is going on. You got the Senior Bowl. It's just kicked off yesterday. So the draftees are doing their things, getting ready for the draft that's going to be in April. But of course, we know before the draft is the start of the new year is going to carry the start of the new league year, and free agency is right there. So that's what's going on, and really no off season no more. Everything is starting right after the Super Bowl. Everything get to kicking off, and we get right back into the mix of things of trying to make your team better for 2025. So that's what Atlanta Falcons at, and we know for a fact that it's going to be something special. We hope it's going to be special this year. Carrie says, um, "We're going to hope you're doing well. Can't wait to have you on the podcast soon. No doubt, no doubt, no doubt." Um, did you see Steve Wilkes got hired by the Jets as their new DC? Yes, we did. Yep, he the one that got away from us. We'll see what Jeff Ulbrich gonna bring to the to the team though. We're gonna give him a chance. Like I said in my last podcast, that's all we can do. They made the hire. Now let's see if he can live up to the expectations from a Falcon fan base. All right. So, guys, first thing I want to talk about definitely is the need for the Falcons. And, it could be different opinions, from different people what they think the Falcons need. Well, first of all, we're going to say they need to they need to retain Drew Dalman, right? Drew Dalman is 100% somebody that they need to retain. Um, I think that goes without saying. We need to make sure we keep our O line intact. So bringing Drew Dalman back probably should they be the first um, thing they need to do is make sure they bring back the center. He's going to be highly coveted, believe it or not. I think on the top 100 card of PFF, he's like number 23 on that list. So yeah, it's, senior, center needy teams is going to be going out and looking for a guy like Drew Dalman. But so the first thing I think the Falcons need to do, first of all, they need to bring the center back. But besides that, I think the offense is really solid on the offense side of the ball. You know, we could always add additions and make it even better than what it is. But if the Atlanta Falcons could sew up the center position for the starting lineup, you're always going to be happy. Of course, you need to add depth there. A couple more guys probably that they want to bring back as well on the offensive line. But for the most part, I think the Atlanta Falcons are solid on the offensive line. I mean, for an offensive side of the ball. Now, let's go to the defensive side. We talk about needs. So, like I said, different opinions across the board. Depending on what they do with Grady Jarrett and David Amiyata, I think the defensive line, so they decided to retain those guys. I think the defensive line bringing in the youth as well, guys like Brandon Dorless and Ruko Ororo. Braden Trice coming back. You still got Armor Katie. You got Zach Harrison on the line. I think the defensive line is good. So I'm not going to say we need defensive linemen. Now, definitely you can go out and get a nose tackle, somebody like that, and make the defensive line even better. But I'm not going to say it's a need that they really got to go out and get if they bring all those guys back. So I'm going to scratch off the defensive line as being a need, but I mean, getting better, it wouldn't hurt. So at that position. But for me, the needs that I think the Atlanta Falcons really need to focus on, they need to focus on another safety without a doubt. Um, they could actually try to retain Justin Simmons. I don't know, what that conversation might be like, but they need to try to bring in another safety to go alongside Jesse Bates. We know Richie Granger is a free agent. So that's one of the spots that they definitely need to consider. We know DeMarco Hellum's coming back from IR as well. If he the guy, we don't know. So one of the needs, definitely in my opinion, the Falcons need to go out and secure that second safety spot on the opposite side of Jesse Bates. All right. Another position I think they need to look into heavily is the linebacker position. We know Nate Landman is now he's a restricted free agent, so they can definitely bring him back, probably, for not as much money. So they want to bring Nate Landman back. They definitely can do that. Troy Anderson is just really just unreliable right now. He can't stay healthy, so you got to be able to shore up that. I think he got a high ceiling, but we don't get to see it on the field. He's going into his last year, his contract, so they need to shore up the middle linebacker position to go alongside Caden Ellis. So I think they need to go and get a linebacker. JD Bertrand did play decent this year, but I think the Atlanta Falcons want to improve their defense. I think they need to go out and get somebody at that linebacker spot can definitely move the needle. So I'm gonna say safety, linebacker, and then without a doubt, they need to look into the cornerback positions, right? Both cornerback positions, the nickel cornerback, and then somebody on the opposite side, AJ Terrell. Now we know we got guys that they could bring back, like Mike Hughes. They could consider bringing him back. But other than that, I think D Alford, had a good career so far, but he might need to go ahead and move on. I thought he had a down year at that nickel position. Undrafted guy came in, he played well for us for a while, but I think they need to upgrade that spot. So for the two cornerback positions, 100%, I think the Atlanta Falcons need to go out and upgrade the cornerback position. So, and then last but not least, probably should have had it first, because I know everybody like, you got to be kidding me. You didn't even say this, but the position I should have said first was the edge position, right? Defensive edge, right? And without a doubt, they need to boost up the pass rush, right? Now we know, well, we don't know because they haven't did it in the last 4 seasons, but we expect them to go get a defensive player in the draft this year, right? So some of these needs definitely could be met in the draft, but the whole idea of free agency, what you would like to do, in which the Atlanta Falcons have done a great job with since Terry Fontenot been there, is kind of going free agency and get that proven commodity to bring in to fill some of your needs, and then in the draft you just go best player available. That's how a lot of teams do. I think Terry Fontenot has used that philosophy a lot. Sometimes to our dislike, right? Because he get the best player available instead of going after need, and then we'd be upset about it. But for the most part, Terry Fontenot first round picks have panned out. Probably except Kyle Pitts, right? A little disappointment there being the number 4 overall pick, but for the most part, you look at the first round picks Terry Fontenot have taken. You go right now. You want to say they're A, right? You look at Drake, you look at Bijan, and then you look at the potential that Mike Penix is going to be able to bring to the table. So between those, those first round picks, you like to see that the Atlanta go out and fill some of their needs in free agency, and then in the first round of the NFL draft, they get best player available, right? Being at number 15, Um, they have some decisions to make. Should they move back to try to get more draft capital? Because according to a lot of experts, the draft is really really good on in the middle, right? So if you can accumulate more picks, right, you might still be able to get the guy you want if you move down a little bit. Um, move down a little bit, maybe in the 20s, get another day two pick. Remember, because they had to give one of their picks for that Matthew Judon trade. So they'll be able to get another day two pick. So moving down might be able to help them because the draft is so deep in some of these areas. Or they can just stay at 15 and take, like I said, take the best player available, which could be an edge rusher, could be a cornerback. We'll definitely talk about the draft later, but just want to talk about free agency needs right now. And for me, I'm going to lead the offense side of the ball along for right now, and I'm going to talk about the safety. We're going to talk about the cornerbacks. I'm going to talk about the linebackers, and definitely want to talk about the edge rushers. So that's what we're going to start with today. Definitely wanted to get you guys input. Now, the caveat to this, since it's I'm playing with the Falcons salary cap, right? I'm not looking at the salary cap and things like that. I'm just going off the best players that they should try to go out and get. Is this realistic, guys? More than likely not, because the cap situation and things like that. But they could be creative and maybe grab some of these guys. But the list I'm going out today is off the top 100 for Pro Football Focus. Now it's different 100s around the league, so don't take this with a grain of salt. This is Pro Football Focus 100 list. And I'm not going to talk about all 100 guys. I'm just call out some names of some players and those positions that I just talked about. So that's what we're going to cover today. And these are the needs I think the Falcons need. You know what? The Falcons probably could feel that they're comfortable in some of these positions. So because they're in they're in the war room getting ready. They're looking at their roster and they're determining who they think can be a contributor in 2025. So, but this is what I feel that Atlanta Falcons need to do, and these are guys that we're going to talk about today. So let's look at the top free agents in 2025, and like I said, we're going to go over those 4 positions that I talked about. So let's start with edge rusher first, right? Atlanta Falcons need edge. We know that 100%. We know that Atlanta Falcons need to go get somebody to get after the quarterback. It's just simple. Like I said, you got Armor Ebiketie, 6 sacks, lead the team in sacks. That's not good enough. We need somebody to go out and be able to start to get the quarterback on the ground. We need a consistent guy. The last time we had a consistent guy was John Abraham. Everybody will look at the outlier year with Vic Beasley. He had 16 and a half sacks, but to be honest with you, Vic Beasley had 5 sacks in one game. So, you take away that, how many games did he really played really well? Good season, but no consistency. So definitely we want to be able to try to eventually get a pass rusher. Now, this is the most insane thing about the Atlanta Falcons, because we've probably been talking about a pass rusher, for the last decade. It's reality, and then I think we talked about a pass rusher the last 4 years, Atlanta Falcon draft, and they went offense the whole time. So let's see if the Atlanta Falcons break the trend. See if they go defense in the first round this time, and we'll see what they get out of it. So the first thing the first guys I want to talk about edge, right? And like I said, this is the top 100. So technically, is it realistic for the Falcons to do it? Yes, they'll be able to do it. They got to move money around and maneuver the cap a little bit, but they can still go get some of these guys. It depends on what their flavors and what they're trying to do. So the first guy I'll talk about is Khalil Mack, right? Of course, we know that name. It's a big name guy. Yes, he is over 30, but still is productive, getting after the quarterback. If you go look at some of his numbers that he had with the Los Angeles Chargers last year, still productive guy. Probably the most, if we was to give him, probably be the best pass rusher on the Atlanta Falcons. So, like I said, guess that's not saying a lot, but going to get a guy like Khalil Mack. Now, what would be the offer for him? I have to go look. I haven't looked at his market value right now, but Khalil Mack would be a guy that they could consider. He wouldn't be the end all be all. He would just be the add to that, bring a veteran presence to it. When I look at guys like Khalil Mack, and I go back to our Super Bowl year, and we brought in Dwight Freeney, right? We brought in Dwight Freeney. Dwight Freeney was back on the back end of his career, but that veteran presence that we had with Dwight Freeney, we tried to replicate that with Calais Campbell as well. We brought him in a couple years ago, right? We tried to do the same thing. So you bring in a guy like Khalil Mack, you don't want Khalil to be, the the dominant guy, but he can definitely going to bring some leadership, some veteran presence to the team. And but like I said, it all to be about the dollar amount. So a guy like Khalil Mack, I would consider doing it. Like I said, you bring him in to be that Dwight Freeney that we had on our Super Bowl run in 2016. So that's somebody to consider. One of the pass rushers. You got Josh Sweat, right? Another guy that they could definitely think about bringing in. Hassan Reddick. I think the Atlanta Falcons was looking at Hassan Reddick a couple of times. We know Hassan Reddick set out the first 11 games for the Jets because he was trying to get paid, came in, and then put up productive numbers. So I think he kind of hurt his stock. This is a guy who was averaging over 8 or 9 sacks a season before that. So have he fell off? We don't know, but you can definitely look at a guy like Hassan Reddick, and bring a guy like that in. Of course, they might want to consider bringing Matthew Judon back. I don't know. That's one of the things to consider. Matthew Judon could be a guy they bring back. Who we got? Josh Uche, right? Josh Uche. Now, see, so some of these guys they bringing in, and this is the top 100 guys. So Josh Uche, Malcolm Kuntz, so another guy. Chase Young, believe it or not, had a really good season with the New Orleans Saints, right? He was in the top 20 and getting pressures this year for pass. So Chase Young is another guy. Dayo Bingo, another guy they can bring in. Derek Barnett, Baron Browning is another guy coming from the Cardinals. Some of these guys probably be a little lower from the price standpoint. So, I mentioned guys like Khalil Mack and I mentioned guys like Hassan Reddick would maybe be on the high end of the market, but the Falcons could absolutely double down and go for cheaper guys. So a guy like Byron Downey, right? Guy like that, bring a guy like that in, along with a Josh Uche. Both of those guys, lower end, pass rush talent, but they might not cost as much. So you can double up, instead of going and get that big shark guy like a Khalil Mack, right? You go out and get some little guys and bring the numbers up. So the more pass rush you got, the better it could be. So they could look at it in that light as well, not spend so much money on one guy and go get two guys. So that's something to think about. And then Azeez Ojulari, remember him? We was trying to get him last year, right, from the New York Giants. Now, the thing about Azeez Ojulari, he was a pass rush specialist. That's what he did. So, he has not even reached the 500 snaps in his career because they just bring him in on pass rush, which could be kind of something to look at because that means they must not trust him in the run game. They just bring him in to rush the passer. But he was a really, really productive pass rusher when he was in games. The Atlanta Falcons tried to go get him. The Giants decide not to make the trade, which is, now he's a free agent, so he can go anywhere he wants to go. But Azeez Ojulari, a guy from the Georgia Bulldogs, like I said, really productive. So they could think about bringing a guy like that in as well. The dollar value may not be as high. You could pair Azeez up with a guy like Byron Drowning, right? You pair those guys up and add to that pass rush with Braden Trice, Ebiketie, right? You have a 4-man pass rushing crew, that would be really good, right? And then I don't want to leave about the Marcus Lawrence as well. Um, I don't know how much he got left in the tank. He was on IR for the Dallas Cowboys. They could definitely consider bringing in a guy like DeMarcus Lawrence as well, right? So out of all those pass rushers, I know I went over a bunch of pass rushers. All these guys were listed on the top 100 for PFF, right? Dollar values is going to be up and down, the money line. Khalil Mack, sun rated guys like that probably going to get, high amounts than others, right? But you can consider a guy, like I said, like a Chase Young, who really had a really good season. Josh Utre, a guy that didn't have, you can get a guy like I said, Byron Drowning, and a guy like Josh Utre. Both of those guys, didn't have really, really good seasons, but you can probably get them for the cheap. Now we'll go back to 2021, and that's what the Terry Fontenot did, right? He went and got guys on the low, right? He kind of went and got what they call bargain basement guys that came in, and some of those guys played really well for the Atlanta Falcons, right? You look at a guy like Cordell Patterson. I think we rejuvenated his career, so Terry Fontenot is really good in bringing in pros from free agency. This is what he specialized in when he's with New Orleans. You look at his free agent signings that he have done so far since he's been here. They almost all of them been really good, right? Now he can't trade for receivers, so he probably need to stop trying to trade for receivers because every receiver he traded for have not worked. But you go look at, bringing in pros from the free agency, he's been, 89 to 90% on it, man. He really have. So I would trust him to go out if you want to go and get some bargain basement guys that the price range might not be as high, to help with the cap. That would be good. And he have a list of guys on here. So those are the guys I think the Atlanta Falcons should consider from an edge standpoint. It's a lot of guys. Now, when you're looking at some of these guys, they're different, right? So you have to look at, what Jeff Ulbrich and Raheem Morris is trying to run the scheme. How would these guys fit in what they're trying to do, right? Some of these guys are heavy set. You look at a guy like Chase Young. You look at a guy like Khalil Mack. What kind of defense would they be better in, and things like that. You get lighter guys like a Byron Drowning. A guy like Aziz Ojulore. Those guys are smaller, right? So depends on what kind of defense the Atlanta Falcons want to run and how they want to develop, their pass rush schemes and things like that. Not saying that any of these guys can come to the team, but they do have to think about that, right? So when you're looking at what Raheem and Jeff trying to establish here in Atlanta, right? That's the kind of guys you're gonna focus on to see what they're trying to build, right? So that's another thing to consider, right? Just don't go out and get big names because you think, they're good, but they've been playing a certain way their whole, especially veteran guys, and you want to make play them to their strength. So you don't want to just get a guy because you think he's talented, but then you come in and try to tell him to do something he never did before. So that's the way to look at it. Let's look at some of these comments before we get to the next position. Thank you guys for coming in today. Like I said, go ahead and please share this with everybody, and so they can come in because I definitely want to hear their comments too. Eddie says Walker, Georgia is who Atlanta needs to draft first. Also, it's not Pitt's fault. Yeah. It depends on what they're trying to run. I agree. I like Walker a lot, but what were they playing him? Would they play him in middle linebacker? Would they play him at pass rusher? Because he's not a polished pass rusher, right? He's a dog now. Don't get me wrong. That dude get out the guys, but what would be his really natural position? Would they try to play him like a Michael Parsons or something like that? If that's the case, I could see that, but I think he would have to play some inside linebacker as well from his side. So it's a good point. I like him a lot though, and I wouldn't be upset if they would have picked a guy like that because I know his motor and I've seen him play, and like I said, he's a straight up dog. So 100% definitely. Pamela Jones said, hello, everyone. Chat, happy Wednesday. How you doing? How you doing? Eddie also said, I agree the Falcons need to focus on defense. First 3 picks, unless it's an O-line. Yep, because you're right. Jake Matthews is getting up there. So if they go O-line, I wouldn't be too upset with getting an O-lineman. It's a boring pick, but you always have to be looking for things like that. But right now, I think our O-line is fine. So, and then like I said, if they decide to bring back some of their, the depth to the O-line, I think the O-line would be good to go. Pamela Johnson says, I feel we could have drafted the year the Raiders beat us, the punch, and drafted Jake Matthews instead. Yeah, we could have had Khalil. You're right. We definitely could have had him that year. I agree with you 100%. Yeah, man, we just missed out, man. Like, you know, who would have thought Michael Parsons was going to be what he turned out to be? You know, he went to Dallas Cowboys, and we ended up drafting Kyle Pitts, right? Hindsight 2020. I agree. I'm not bashing on Kyle because I think Kyle got so much talent. It's not working out for him in Atlanta. Um, he's still under contract, so we'll see what happens with him. Will they decide to pull the trigger and do a trade? Um, and then he turned out to be a Hall of Famer, right? Because every guy that we trade somehow. I mean, look at guys like Brett Favre. We let Deion Sanders go, right? I just don't want nothing like that to happen if we let Kyle Pitts out the door. So that would suck big time. He said this year draft is not deep for 5 rounds. It's a solid. Good scouts will have to find a lot of talent from FCS and Division twos. So it's the word on the street that is good. The best picks is 20 through 60, right? So that's like right in the middle of the back end of the first round and going into the second and early third round, right? So that's where the best picks at right now. Is really, really good there. That's why I mentioned the Falcons could go back, right? Go down a little bit if they wanted to, because I think they're still a good player. At either of these positions I talked about as well too. So, if they want to wait into the draft to get some of these needs, especially like a cornerback, I think they may do that, and even the edge rusher. So that's what the Falcons got to look forward to when we're talking about the draft. But we're gonna do draft talk later. Today is about the free agents. All right. Mac is a value at 15, 18 million with incentives unless he pull a Von Miller. Yeah, so they would really have to be, thinking that Khalil gonna live up to it and still playing at a high level before they cash out fork out that kind of money. They don't have that right now. Now it's no way they could get it. They definitely could get it if they wanted to, but that's a lot for me. I don't know if they want to go that high, 15, 18 million for a pass rusher who's aging as well. Now he was young, he was 25, 26, no doubt, but I don't think they would want to go that high for a guy like Khalil Mack. Like I said, I would rather go the route, going to get 2 pass rushers for the price of 1 instead of paying that much for 1. I wouldn't bring Reddit because he only is straight stand edge rusher that don't have 3 or 5 technique capabilities for tackling outside a quarterback. This is why he is trying to get paid. Now, you are right, but his production speaks for itself. Not talking about this year because he didn't play the first 11 games, but consistently it gets to the quarterback. So you're right. You have to scheme it up right for him to be productive, but he have produced numbers. So, that's how you get paid, by your production. And from his production, he has played really well. So I'm understanding where you're coming from, but they will have to make sure they playing the right way, right? But I mean, they got Armor Ebiketie. I think they got the same kind of style play. And so if they can utilize Armor Ebiketie, they can find a place for a guy like Hassan Reddick as well. So that's the way I look at it with that. Terry says, what's happening, Kondo? We're going to get a lot of Jets free agents. That is talk. We're going to talk about one in particular when we get to the linebackers. Millie Mill says, "What's up? What's up?" He said, "I'm gonna tell you one thing: we don't need to no damn T Higgins. Let him go get the max from some other team, and where he can ascend into the number one. Yeah, exactly. I would never. I got if you came to the show late, I'm not even looking at offensive side of the ball. I'm just being honest with you right now. You always can upgrade offense side of the ball. You can go get a third receiver. Even though I thought Ray McLeod did really well, he had a career um year with the Atlanta Falcons. He had his best season he ever had from a reception standpoint, being a receiver. So once again, like I said, man, Terry bringing these free agents in, man, they shine, right? So he had his best career ever. But they still maybe want to upgrade that position, the number 3 receiver. So I don't know, but I don't. I think the offense is good, so I would definitely not want to bring in anybody, especially T Higgins. That would be just dumbfounded if they was to do that. Um, I love Pearson from Tennessee. Yeah, a lot of people like him. I can tell you right now, at the senior looking at the Senior Bowl, the kid from Marshall is starting to grow steam a lot, Mike Green. So it's gonna be interesting to see where he ends up landing. Um, stock rising. His stock is rising. It definitely is. We know Carter from Penn State is going. Abdul Carter is going number 1. Pearson, it looked like he might be the second edge rusher off the board. But like I said, Mike Green stock going up. His numbers was outstanding this year. So you go look at it. And this year was really his only year he actually got to start. He was playing backup, his previous year. So don't have a whole lot of tape on there. But this year his production is really good. And the way he looking in the Senior Bowl right now, and probably the way he tests is going to probably determine how much his stock goes up a lot. So look out for a guy like Mike Green to go up draft boards as well. I have a quick question about HBCU players you like for upcoming draft and undrafted free agencies. So be honest with you, I have not looked at any draft guys. I've been just looking at the highlights. So I haven't gotten to the draft board yet. I'm waiting to after the Super Bowl to start doing that, the combine and things like that. So definitely come back to the channel and we start talking about draftees. Come back. If you know how I do it, I go right down the each position, and I will go down each position, even if I don't know the Falcons need them. We'll talk about each draftees, and then I give you some of the guys that I think the Falcons might draft in later rounds. So far since I've been doing this, I only got one hit that I got lucky on. That was running back out of BYU. Yes. Our big back for BYU. So I got him right. Other than that, I've been missing on later round draft picks. But man, that was a steal. I know you guys agree. Unfortunately, we're probably gonna lose him after this year. But yeah, we're gonna have fun this 2024, 2025 with that dual backfield. I can tell you that much. Tyler Algier is a beast. He really is. Walker is polished. He can play all over. Georgia didn't fully use him talent because of the injury. The boy is the next. Yes, I'm not arguing with you. I'm not. You. If they get Walker, I'm happy. I'm just telling you. It's just interesting to see how they're gonna play him. I agree with you 100%. He's not as high on people's boards because I think he's a tweener. Like I'm saying, like the size. But man, you watch him play, he's just a dog. So I agree with you. It seemed like sometimes Kirby Smart play these guys all over the place, and they're not in a steady position where they could just shine like they're supposed to. So you're right. He was playing all over the field, lined up all over the line. He was everywhere. So probably didn't get to show his, put him like right on the edge and just always run after the quarterback. He didn't play that. You're right. He played all over. But man, if they get Walker, I'm happy with that. I'm not going to argue at all. If we can find a way to get some more money off this season, free agency should just be depth and can't afford no big names. We already got the talent. Just coach it up for real. So I agree with you. The cap always going to be an issue, and then the Falcons got some decisions to make. So we definitely going to get more and more into that. We get closer to the new league year. Like I said, they got decisions to make with Grady Jarrett, David Yada, the Kyle Pitts, whole ordeal. What they're going to do with him. So they got ways now. They can restructure deals. We are with guys with like Jesse Bates, Chris Lindstrom. Um, to free up cap space in those ways as well. You know, um, so we just have to see what they decide to do. But I think the Falcons have the ability to get the cap space they need, and it does not hinder them from going out to get a big name guy as well. So they can definitely still do that. They want a guy, he want to come there, and the money's right. They can still go out and get a big name guy. Um, Terry says, I like number 11 and number 4 from Texas A&M. Draft both of them. There you go. There you go. I don't know if you get both of them, but kind of have you heard Jordan Birch from Oregon? Yes, I heard people talk about him earlier, right? So guys, like I said, we're going to I'm getting to the draft probably next week. So be on the lookout for that. We'll definitely start talking about draftees, right? So we'll be on the lookout for that. I like to do it in order though, because I know the draft, they doing the combines, they do the pro days, they do all the bowl games and things like that. But what comes first is free agency, right? And that's how draft board get reshuffled based off what you're able to do in free agency. So that's why I like to do it in order, because you got to look at your free agents. First, they got to look at free agents on their team, and then they have to look at the free agency outside. But then, based off the free agents they sign, that's when they start to actually go into, trying to figure out what's the best position in the draft board. They're gonna stack it, from best player available on down. But at the same time, you got to be strategic when you're going to your draft board, and you going to go free agency first, because like I said, free agency are mostly, they're proven. You know what you'll get out of those guys, and so you try to get your needs when you go in free agency. That's just how I would do it, and it seems like that's the way Terry Fontenot has been doing it for years. So I think he's going to stick to that formula, because it's been working for him. All right. Let's get into the next position, guys. The next position is going to be safety. Now, we looking at the safety position. We know for a fact we got our starting safety, Jesse Bates, all pro guy that we have, but we tried to pair him up with another all pro guy. Just didn't turn out the way we wanted it to with Justin Simmons. He is a free agency, so I'm going to say him first. If they want to bring back Justin Simmons, I still think he got some game. I think it just didn't click. Get into training camp late, not getting the system down completely and fully. Maybe playing out of. I think him and Jesse, kind of both are free safeties. So maybe he's just not the fit for Atlanta. But it depends on what Jeff Albrecht want to do and change the way the defense play. So a guy like Justin Simmons, I'm just going to throw his name out there for first, because he's one of the guys that definitely they could consider bringing back. Javon Holland probably is the number 1 safety on the board. They got to comp him as a Jesse Bates, right? So he's going to be the highest graded safety out there. He's going to demand lots of money, right? Once again, when I told you guys, I wasn't looking at the salary cap. I'm thinking we got a blank check, so that's why I'm just calling these guys out. But we probably going to be out the market on Javon Holland. But great safety from the Dolphins, definitely going to get paid a lot. Cameron Bynum, that's another guy they could definitely look at, be a safety. Harrison Smith, from the Minnesota Vikings. Harrison Smith got 35 career interceptions and 20 career sacks, right? Now he's a little older up there, but you bring a guy like that in, to pair with Jesse Bates, I think that'll be a great duo, right? So bring a guy like Harrison Smith in, I think he plays in the box a little bit more. He probably be a more better fit than a guy like Justice Simmons. Looking at 20 sacks, he don't have got over the season. So that's a guy they definitely can consider. Justin Reed from the Kansas City Chiefs, once they do their three-peat, and he might want to, try to go out and spread his wings to get out of Kansas City. I don't know why would anybody want to leave, while they on that run that they're having, but you never know, right? So Justin Reed is a guy. Andre Cisco is another guy that you could definitely consider bringing in. Hugo Funga from the San Francisco 49ers. He was a little injured this year, so it kind of went down a little bit, but that's a guy that I really like in the previous years. He's a free agent. So Hugo Funga, if they want to go out and get a guy like that to be their safety. Jeremy Chin, Carolina kind of did away with him. He went to the Commanders, had a decent season, and then Elijah Molden will be the last safety. So out of those safeties, realistically, who could the Atlanta Falcons go, get, a guy like Justin Reed probably won't. Like I said, Harrison Smith, Jeremy Chin, Elijah Molden, Andre Cisco, Hugo Funga, and then, like I said, Javon Holland. Those are the safeties, guys. Like I said, we think about safeties now. We do got DeMarco Hellams, right? And he was coming on. He really was coming on, before he got injured. He took a lot of snaps from Richie Grant in 2023, if you guys can recall, right? So he was coming on. I think he might would have ended up being a starter if he wouldn't have got hurt, and they didn't go get Justin Simmons. So, I don't want to sell DeMarco Hellams short, but I do think the Atlanta Falcons need to go out and create that depth in the safety. They need another safety. They gotta get a safety. They need a safety that be able to cover, so that's what they need. Looking at these guys, wish list would be like a guy like Javon Holland, of course. But I think, like I said, we'd probably be outpriced for him. I like Hugo Funga, the way he played, for the San Francisco 49ers. Jeremy Chin, we know the talent that he has. And the other guys, like I said, hit or miss. So we just have to consider those guys. All right, let's get into the cornerbacks, and then I'll read the messages. Let's get into the cornerbacks, guys. Cornerbacks, Asante Samuel Jr., right? They've got their bloodline there. They want to go there. Byron Murphy Jr. from the Minnesota Vikings had 6 interceptions this past season. So a guy that was a ball hawk. That Minnesota team was doing a lot of takeaways. So you gotta like that. So I like a guy like that. Let's see who we got. Tre'Davious Ward, believe it or not, for the San Francisco 49ers. That's interesting. That's interesting if they would go there. Rasul Douglas, a little older up there. If you're looking at somebody like that, maybe not. We talked about the Jets. DJ Reed is a guy that Jeff Ulbrich has familiarity with. Maybe he would want to bring him in. Carlton Davis from the Detroit Lions. Remember, he was sent to Detroit, but he's a free agent this year. So Carlton Davis out there. So those are your cornerbacks. Stephon Gilmore still playing at a decent level. If they want to go there, I wouldn't be upset, pairing him over AJ Terrell. But you got Stephon Gilmore, Asante Samuel Jr., Byron Murphy Jr., Tre'Davious Ward, Rasul Douglas, Carlton Davis, and DJ Reed. Those are your cornerbacks. The Atlanta Falcons. Now, we know from the cornerback standpoint, we need a nickel cornerback and a number 2 cornerback. Like I said, they could bring Mike Hughes back. That would solve the number 2 spot, but then they will have to go out and get a nickel. Now, this is where we're talking about the draft real quick. If a guy like Will Johnson still on the board at 15, maybe the Falcons would go ahead and pull him off the board at that time. So we need a solid cornerback to go opposite AJ Terrell. So that's something they could consider. 100% definitely looking at that. But guys, they're your safeties and your cornerbacks. Safeties and cornerbacks, what I think the Atlanta Falcons need. Then last but not least, we talked about the linebacker position. And after the top 100, it's more linebackers on the top 100. But for me, the only two guys that I highlighted on the top 100, and this, like I said, this is PFF top 100, right? Dre Greenlaw, we know he was coming off of Achilles. He was able to come back this year. So, he wasn't 100%. But next season, this upcoming season, he should be 100%. The Atlanta Falcons go get a veteran like that and compare it with Caden Ellis. I think that would be a home run. Don't know what his price tag would be, but again, a guy like Dre Greenlaw would be huge for the Atlanta Falcons. And then Nick Bolton for the Kansas City Chiefs, man. This guy, kind of get caught up in pass coverage, but downhill linebacker is without a doubt is a stud. So comparing him up with Caden Ellis would be huge as well. So Dre Greenlaw, Nick Bolton, and then there's another linebacker that wasn't on the 100, but it's getting a lot of buzz coming from the Jets, and that's Jamie and Sherwood from the Jets. I think he's an upcoming guy, got a lot of familiarity with Jeff Olbrook, and might not cost as much. So bringing a guy like Jamie Sherwood in on the lower end of the dollar scale would definitely help the Atlanta Falcons because of the cap situations. So that would be huge for the Atlanta Falcons as well. Jamie and Sherwood, like I said, for me, big names. I'm going for it all. Nick Bolton and Dre Greenlaw. So hypothetical, most of those guys won't be coming to this team. These guys that I listed, like I said, these are the top 100s list. Now, when you think about it, look at all the safeties that I called out, though. Some of these safeties going to get froze out. It's just the way it is. It's just too many safeties. And somebody's going to be sitting out there, and the Falcons could snack them up later on because a lot of safeties that I called out that was on the top 100, and that's not all of them. So safeties is definitely, look at what happened last year. Justin Simmons didn't get signed until right before training camp. So safeties, I think the Atlanta Falcons maybe can wait on safeties and see can they get a good steal towards the end. But if you're going for cornerbacks, I think you need to jump on that quick. And I think for safeties as well, edge without a doubt, that should be their first priority, trying to fix the edge. But those are the needs I think the Atlanta Falcons need. 100% understand that the cap situation and where it is, and they're gonna have to make some tough decisions to try to get cap space because remember you got to pay for your draft class as well. So it's gonna be really interesting to see how the Falcons navigate, this off season, and this might be one of the most difficult off seasons for Terry Fontenot. I know people want to go back to his first season, but he was playing with house money. He didn't have any cap space, right? And they just had to go out and fill a roster. That's what they had to do. So, that's one thing to think about it. Now, I want to mention this because I think the way Terry Fontenot and his team does it is really smart. So they went out and signed a lot of future contracts, right? And if you haven't seen the list of those guys they signed, I think they signed about 14 to 15 guys already to future contracts. By signing those guys, you make those guys part of the top 51, right? Now, what I mean by the top 51, you have to be up under the cap by the new league year, right? So by signing those guys, to the top 51, your cap is not as high as it is. You got your guys on your roster, but they're not making a lot. They got future contracts, and it helps with the top 51. So that's smart the way you're doing it. And some of those guys could be players that definitely can contribute this year. Now with the 16 players that they have on the practice squad, a lot of those guys get elevated throughout the year. Now they can only get elevated 4 times. By the 4th time, they got to bring them on the roster and let them go. So they won't be able to get elevated anymore. So that's one thing to think about with those 16 players. But those guys are now part of pretty much the team, right? And it's been you know, everybody's talking about what they should do is just increase the roster size. They're talking about going to an 18th game. They need to increase the roster size. That's what they need to do, and bringing those 16 guys in. So going from 53 to 69, I think would be a good idea. I really do. But we'll just have to see what the Atlanta Falcons decide to do in that I mean, not the Atlanta Falcons, the NFL. Sorry about that. All right, let's look at some of these comments. Eddie says, yes, sir, that's what all teams do. Restructure players, contract, turn salary into bonus money in order to get set. Okay, 100%. That's definitely they're going to do. You don't want to. Only thing I got to say about that, though, you don't want to turn into the New Orleans Saints, right? Their cap is bad, man. They got the New Orleans Saints. What they decided to do was go for it, right? So that's when they had Drew Brees. They decided to go for it, and they kept trying to not start over, right? And they just kept kicking the can down the road, moving money to the right, putting all these void years and things like that. And it's finally catching up with them. So they got to make a lot of decisions this year as well with some of their players, some of their veteran players and things like that. It's interesting because they still don't have a head coach yet, and it could be because of the cap situation, and how they're going to be looking this year. It's I know they got some talent on that team, but if you look at their cap situation, it's not as sexy and it's not as easy to get off it up under it because they've been pushing on the road. So I understand the restructures and extensions and things like that, but you don't want to go overboard with it. Trying to chase something and you wasn't as close as you thought you were. So it's at some point the Aints gonna have to rebuild. They just are. They're gonna have to rebuild, man. Eddie said, "Don't worry about KC. Definitely won't have a cap. Breed is definitely going for money at the four Super Bowl, especially when they make Mahomes the highest paid quarterback in the offseason. Hey, if he going after money, he probably outprice us then. But definitely, I would love Bolton, 100%. Millie Mill said, I heard Jair Alexander from Green Bay isn't expected to return. I don't know how true that is. I heard that same rumor. But what would be his dollar value? So that's a great question about him. So we'll have to see about Jair Alexander, but that would be really good to get somebody like that to go on the opposite side of AJ Terrell. 17 Recondo has been signed. See, 7, yes. Thanks for that. 17 future contract guys. That's just smart cap management. That's what they do, man. That's why I say I'm not worried about them making cap space because they're really good at it. Jared Alexander just signed a big contract this past season with Green Bay. So it would have to be a trade then. It would have to be a trade. And if that's the case, Atlanta Falcons don't have anything to trade. They could trade Kyle Pitts, right? But I don't want to send Kyle Pitts to Green Bay. Forget that. No. He got to go to the AFC if we trade Kyle Pitts. Recondo, have you seen the podcast that Coach and Morris are trying to invent this 2-9 defense? I have not. Can you send that link, man? I want to see that. I haven't heard of that. That's crazy. Yeah, send that, man. He did say that they want to create something new. They want to create something new. So I don't know how much more sexy defense can get. I tell you, man, but it all goes down to the players you got. You can have the most vanilla defense in the world. If you got freaking 11 Pro Bowlers on there, ain't nobody gonna score on you anyway, right? I mean, just think about it. If you get Ray Lewis, Ed Reed, Troy Polamalu, Deion Sanders, what his name? Darrell Revis, right? You get that in the backfield, and then you put Aaron Donald, Warren Sapp, Bruce Smith, right? TJ Watt, somebody like that on the defensive line, you ain't scoring anyway. So no matter what defense you play. So I like the, people talk about their defensive schemes and things like that, but you got to be able to have the players, man. Like it really boils down to that because teams try to exploit your own weaknesses, right? You know, you got 11 All Pros, all Hall of Famers. Ain't no weakness. Go for it. But that would be crazy, right? Just thinking about that. That's an all-star defense for your ass, man. Green Bay is another team that could use Kyle Pitt though. No, man, no. We do not want them to go. We do not 100% do not want Kyle Pitts to go to Green Bay. Man, just imagine him with Jordan Love and those young receivers they got. Oh man, and then with running back Josh Jacobs. No, hell no. No, we do not want that to happen. Unless they give us a first round pick, then I'll be like, okay, let's do it. They give us first round pick with Kyle Pitts, I might consider it. Even the second, maybe consider it. But if you're not going first or second round pick, no, we're not trading with you, Green Bay. They need to get Mickey Loomis out of the way, hire a new GM, a new head coach, and just gut the team and start a rebuild. No, Nathan, no. Don't give them any ideas. Let Mickey Loomis stay there as long as he wants to. we don't want the Aints to get good. No, do not start over. Stay. Keep pushing it down the road, Mickey Loomis. Keep kicking it down the road. Alexander Cap hits is up there with Terrell. Ooh, yeah. It'd be hard to trade for Jair Alexander. It'd be really hard. Now, if they had some cap space, maybe they could, man. Maybe they could. We're gonna see what they do with Kirk Cousins here. That might help out a lot if he decide to, he want to play for another team and decide to orchestrate a trade because guys, it's up to him. He is the gatekeeper of that contract because he has no trade clause. So it's all of the Kirk Cousins. I tell you one thing, I wouldn't release him. I would not release him at all. Say Buffalo Bill want Pitts. Yeah, they give us a first, second round pick. He can go to Buffalo easily. Give him a first, second round pick. We definitely get him to Buffalo. 100% we get him to Buffalo. Yep. But guys, those are our top free agents, man. I think the Atlanta Falcons have a lot of decisions to make. And it'll be interesting to see out of all these names I called out where they sign any of these guys. More than likely, I see a guy like Jamie Sherwood, from the Jets getting signed. Maybe some of these guys on the back end that I said with less dollar value, bringing those guys in. Like I said, double down on 2 pass rushers instead of 1 big name pass rusher, doing something like that. They have decisions to make, but no. So those are some of the top free agents to look at going into 2025. Like we said, for one thing for sure, we know the Atlanta Falcons have to sign some of their guys back first, right? So the first free agents they need to knock off are their own guys. One in particular, I talked about Drew Dahlman and some of the other offensive linemen that's our free agent, like a Kyle Hinton, like a Ryan Newsom. Bringing those guys back to just make sure that the offensive line. Storm Norton is another guy who's swing tackle for us. Bring some of those guys back. Shore up the offensive line with the depth with your own free agents. That's what you need to do, and then bring back maybe 2 or 3 guys on the defense side of the ball and rebuild the defense. I think that they need to have at least a 25 to 30% changeover on defense. Running it back just won't get it done. I really think they need to to at least change the lineup, change the starting lineup by 25-30%. They do that. Now we know the Atlanta Falcons serious, right? Because it'll be 2 years in a row they came back with the same squad. It'll be 3 years if they do it again. So they got to make some changes here. And it's a lot of it's 23 free agents out there. All 23 of those guys not coming back. We love them as Falcons. They did some good things. They did some not so good things. And it's time for them to go out and see can they do better in other places. So guys like Taquan Graham, I don't think they should bring him back. I'm just being honest with you. Richie Grant, D. Alford, I mean, Avery Williams. Some of those guys, I just think they need to just find other places to go. They always going to be Falcons. They got, most of those guys got drafted by the Atlanta Falcons. But I think the Atlanta Falcons need a turnover. That's what I think. Pamela Johnson said Mickey Loomis is part owner of the Saints. Is he not? He's not. I don't. He can stay there forever. I like to hear that. He can own the team. Let him be like Jerry Jones. Just buy the team and mess it up continuously forever. I think we will draft a center for future to grow with MPJ. Man, that would be funny. That would be funny. First of all, if they draft the center in the first round, I think the Atlanta Falcons fan base will nut up because that'll be 5 years in a row they pick the offensive player when we clearly need defense, right? Now they draft them in later rounds. You're right. I can see that. Adding that depth in. That means they're letting Drew Dalman go though, and Ryan Newsel, both of those guys. So maybe drop the center there. He said the only players I'm trading this year is Tyler Algier, but has to be no lower than a high fourth. Man, they can't trade Tyler, man. They can't trade Tyler. I think they just ride it out with him. So the way, and then look at my thinking here. They ride it out this year with Tyler Algier. Now, if you can get a high four, third round pick for him, yeah, go ahead. But if you use him this year and try to get to heights, we haven't been since 2017, right? Getting in the playoffs and things like that, right? And then he leaving free agency, you'll get a pick. You get a compensatory pick because you lost your free agent. So you will still get a pick out of him. It might be like a fifth round or something like that, but you will still get a compensatory pick if you lose a guy like Tyler Algier. And that goes for these other free agents we got, these 23 free agents I got. Any of those guys get picked up by teams, next year we'll get a compensatory pick. So you got to like that. You got to like stuff like that. Because we need as many picks we can get, because we're going to have to start building through the draft because we got guys to pay. We got Bijan, we got Drake coming up. We just talked about, Michael Penix Jr. He's going to be, by next year, he'll be going, not in this coming season, but next year he'll be going to the third season. So, if he's living up to the hype, you got to get ahead of that contract or you're going to bust it, right? So, that's what I'm talking about. This is interesting. I like where you're going with this, Terry. Tyler might go to Pittsburgh. Yes, because Najee Harris is a free agent. He can reunite with Arthur Smith. That's a never thought about that. That'll be good for him. He's in the AFC. We'll have to see him. That's another good thing. So I like that. I really like that idea. If we can get a good pick for him. But they don't gotta be a starter though. Yep. Are you talking about the center? I think you're talking about the center. You said they ought to be a starter. Yep. Well, there you have it, guys. Been on here hour talked about the free agents for Atlanta Falcons potentially in 2025. I shoot for the stars. I really did. Some of the big name free agents I got out there, especially looking at the Atlanta Falcons salary cap situation. I'm gonna tell you one team that's gonna be real scary this year, and that's the Washington Commanders. Because you look how much cap space they got. You know, this wasn't the year that they thought they was gonna be able to get it done. They just being honest. You know, they got a lightning in bottle with Jaden Daniels, but now they can actually go out and build this roster. They got a lot of cap space. New England Patriots got a lot of cap space. You know, so some of these big name free agents is gonna get snatched up anyway. And so the Atlanta Falcons might have to wait, on the second round. Usually we want to hear something, that first week of the new league year, things like that. But the Atlanta Falcons might have to wait because of the cap situation and get some of the stragglers. So we'll see how this panned out for the Atlanta Falcons. I still believe those are the needs. You probably won't be able to fill all those needs in free agency. So definitely going to be getting into the draft. Like I said, next week I'm gonna start talking about draft prospects and things like that. And I'm gonna try to pick again a late round pick and see who the Atlanta Falcons might bring in. I do that based off the 30 team visit, the visit they have with teams and things like that. And that's why I based it off of. And then, like I said, the fit. I look at the fit for the team, where this player is trending, in what direction he's trending in. That's how I thought about Tyler Algier when they decided to get him. Now I'm talking about a comp pick. They don't gotta be a starter in order to get a pick if they leave. Yeah, that is true. That is true. You're right. They don't have to be a starter. That's just great. Um, Washington might get Parsons. Michael Parsons? Dallas did not let Michael Parsons go, man. I can promise you that. Um, he's their superstar on defense, Sorry, Trayvon Diggs. Um, they're probably the best two defensive players. Even though Overshown has shown a lot, I like him a lot. I like that linebacker. But I'm really interested to see how the Cowboys do this year, man. Jerry Jones he won't change his stripes. He keep doing the same thing over and over again. Maybe this year could be his year. All right, guys, but there you have it. Let me know. Please let me know what you think about the Atlanta Falcons need first and foremost. Do you agree with me with linebacker, safety, edge, and cornerbacks? Both cornerback positions. Those the needs. Let me know what you think about the top free agents that I mentioned. Throw out free agents that I might then mention that you think could be a good fit for the Atlanta Falcons team, which probably more than likely is probably more ideal because of the salary cap issue that we have. But there you have it. So, guys, thank you for tuning in today to the channel. Please share my video for all others to see and put any comments in so I can get back with you. This is your boy Ricondo coming back with you with another video. Peace.